Hi, I'm Angela, and thank you so much for coming back to us. We are here to discuss the campaign Think Before You Drink, and where we get to bring you industry specialists, subject matter experts, and our preferred partners here on the mission that serves with us in stopping impaired driving and educating the public in our online community. Today, we have a special guest with us from the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office, and we have Deputy District Attorney Kelly Clark. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we've worked together with this program, the Real DUI Court in Schools program, where we bring an actual sentencing of a first-time DUI offender into the assembly format in schools. However, since we don't have that right now with the schools being open, we're still bringing this program out there to schools, but in a virtual format. So I say all of that to say, Kelly, we are now doing this virtually. And I wanted to find out if you could explain to our community, online community, a little bit about your role as a deputy district attorney with Sac County.
Yes, I've been a prosecutor for 22 years. I started out in the misdemeanor unit where the most voluminous caseload is DUIs. Those are the most cases that we see in misdemeanor unit. I then proceeded to go to various other units such as domestic violence, the felony trial department, career criminal. I did 6 years as the lead attorney in our DUI calendar court, where I was the sole prosecutor that was in charge of reviewing cases and arraigning defendants. So we saw thousands of DUI defendants every year. And I did that for about 6 years. I also worked in the vehicular homicide unit, which is the unit that's responsible for prosecuting our serious DUI offenders that are involved in a collision and they either seriously injure someone or kill someone. That unit is, I think, specialized in the sense that you don't have to be a career DUI defendant to be prosecuted by a vehicular homicide prosecutor. You could be your first time out drinking and driving and actually crash and kill someone and be prosecuted by that unit.
Wow. Wow.
Currently, I will be moving into a new grant position that I'll be responsible for the misdemeanor prosecution, education, and outreach, which is a new specialized unit that is going to be dealing just with DUIs and educating our public.
Really?
Yes.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, the DA's office and the grants, which I would imagine is coming from the Office of Traffic Safety that you're going to be working on, would find this not only as a tool for the community and a vital tool at that, but could you tell us some statistics? What about Sacramento County, specifically with the DUIs? Have you seen whether it's prosecution wise or how many you filed on?
Well, in 2019 alone, we filed 4,142 DUI defendants that are just driving under the influence. We filed 4,080 cases for people that are driving at a 0.08 or higher. We filed 493 drug DUIs, so driving under the influence of drugs. It doesn't just have to be alcohol, it can be drugs as well. And that includes prescription medication and marijuana, which is important to realize. And then also we filed 232 combination DUI, which means you could have a low blood alcohol level in combination with marijuana, street drugs, or prescription medication.
My goodness. So, well, it makes sense then why the funding is going to literally fund a whole position to educate the public about this. Community safety is where it's at.
Absolutely. When you think about it in combination, when you're looking at all the DUI or drug DUI defendants or cases were filed, it's almost close to 10,000. I mean, so that is an exorbitant amount of people that are out on our streets drinking and driving or doing drugs and driving with the potential each and every time that they could actually hurt or kill someone.
That's incredible. Almost 10,000 in a year, just in one county, correct? This is just Sacramento County, the stats for.
Yes.
My goodness. You know, that's our whole mission here at Arrive Alive is to go out and educate the public. So we find partners that are on the same mission with us. And what we are seeing is the statistics for youth specifically are skyrocketing right now. You know, it's actually become a funny meme of let's day drink is completely acceptable, but they're still getting in their cars, not realizing the damage they're doing. Not only that, but this is what they're seeing their parents do. We already know under 21, it's illegal to drink and drive. It's illegal to drink. Zero tolerance laws with California, but we're seeing it turning into this socially acceptable thing now to do, habits to create. But our fear as educators, and I would imagine prosecutors, is this is going to be a pattern that is established even when we get back to doing things in a normal capacity, you know, living life a little bit more. So how are you guys going to try to combat that with your educational component in this grant? What are you looking to do even right now?
Well, we will be doing the DUI in the Schools program, which I think is a very effective tool about education. It's a fabulous program where we go to the schools, and going forward, we'll be doing it virtually, going and talking to the kids and to the students about the dangers and the significant risk you have when you take one drink or one toke off a joint. You are potentially putting yourself in serious risk. Yeah. A lot of times when we go to the DUI in the Schools program, we have question and answers with the students. Many students believe that if you're prescribed medication, it's okay to, your doctor saying you could go ahead and take it, that means you certainly could drive also. And that's not the case. Right. Also, they're believing that if you are legally allowed to be smoking marijuana, then it would be okay for you to get behind the wheel of a car. Again, those are two separate things. And that's the educational component of, like, make a plan today before you even have the potential of getting behind a wheel or drinking or doing drugs. Make a plan as to how you're going to get around and how you're going to get home before you even go to the party.
Right, exactly, which is the whole premise behind our Think Before You Drink campaign that we're really getting out to the community members, to our youth, on our various social media platforms. And you hit it on the head. We're here as educators to let the public and our students know that there's a lot of myths and preconceived notions out there. Well, it's legal to smoke. I have a cannabis card, but I can't get in the car and drive. And it's really, unless you have people coming out and educating them, they're going to continue to think the wrong things. Stinking thinking, you know, they're not going to have the correct information to live off of. So I think having you guys out and having the courts participate in this fabulous program to educate the youth is extremely important. Absolutely. So how did you come about? I know this wasn't just an assignment, maybe it was a couple of years ago, to join us in the Real DUI Courts program, but is there any other type of a connection that you might have that you would like to share with our audience before we go?
Sure. My first day of law school, my dad had gone the day before to a company-wide golf tournament and a really fancy dinner. He was a vice president at Behringer Vineyards, and he was an avid golfer, and his favorite thing was to golf and eat really good food and drink really good wine. And they did that. On that day, it was an employee appreciation golf tournament. And that night, because Behringer it's a responsible company, they had organized and had hotel rooms set up for all their employees, so nobody had to drive home. And my dad, because he loved my mom more than anything, I believe he wanted to sleep in his own bed. He wanted to be home with my mom. And that night he drove home, and he was in a solo rollover DUI collision, and he was killed. And that next morning, my world crashed and collapsed around me. And it was things that I think that had he had a plan, or had he just really thought, because he certainly didn't want to die. He was 50 years old, 51 years old. He didn't want to die at that point. He just wanted to go home to sleep in his own bed. So I think this has come full circle for me of just kind of getting that message out there that the decisions you make and the choices you make will affect so many more people, and that ripple effect will just go on and on. And my hope is that my story, if nothing else, will touch somebody or make somebody think right before they go out of like, hey, instead of driving my car, why don't I just take an Uber or a cab? And that way I don't have a choice. I will have to get an Uber or a cab to come home, because honestly, it is cheaper to get an Uber or a cab than it is to get a DUI. Because when you think about it, it is more expensive to get a DUI than it is to take a cab from Sacramento to Los Angeles and back.
My goodness.
Yeah, when you put those numbers in it, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So that's my hope.
My goodness. Well, not only do you have a professional side and impact that you've seen hundreds, if not thousands of cases regarding DUIs, but your personal impact and story is is extremely powerful. And I can attest to the fact that when we're in assemblies and with schools and students, and you speak and tell your story, the way you deliver it, it's beautiful. And you can hear a pin drop in the student body and a gasp at the end when you say that it was your story that you've lived through. And, that's where Arrive Alive, we bring not only DUI prevention to schools, but it's reality-based education. It's real court cases. It's real life changing stories. And thank you for being so real with the kids. I think this day and age, they appreciate real stories so much more. And I truly believe you have impacted hundreds, if not thousands, that have heard your story. And I thank you for participating.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to conclude our interview with Deputy District Attorney Kelly Clark.